You know what?
What are we doing first?
I would lead with the updates on the hacking and just the discussion.
I agree with this decision. Yeah.
But our poor guests have waited so long to talk about a site that they no longer even get to work for. I want to have lots of energy as I introduce Chris and Jordan, but I'm actually really sad. Can I do like a quick read of our WAN show writers sort of bullet points here? No, you can, they can, leave them up. But then I want to kind of get into with you guys, like what is going on with you? What is going on with everyone else? But first, okay, this week it was revealed that one of the casualties of Amazon's layoffs was the highly respected, and sure, we're editorializing a little bit here. We're saying highly respected, this colorful language, but that's how I feel. Okay, highly respected digital photography review. DPReview, which I thought was a very different site the first time I heard of it. They're the world's most popular source for camera reviews, and they will be shutting down after 25 years in operation. Users who have uploaded photos to the site will have until April 6th to download them, and after April 10th, the site will cease to update. Amazon gave no reason publicly for the DPReview's closure. We reached out to DPReview's editor-in-chief, Joran Schneider, and there doesn't appear to be any official plan to archive the site for preservation, which is deeply saddening. There's an unofficial effort by archive team to scrape the entire site and make it available via the Internet Archive. I have a quote here from Joran Schneider. I'm extremely sleep deprived. I apologize for everything I'm about to do today.
We've been through it, yeah.
Anyway, this is a quote. Losing DPReview marks a particularly dark day for photography enthusiasts. Man, okay, I'm going to jump in here. I'm sorry, Jordan. You're doing a great job of talking about how sad this is, but it's even sadder. This is a dark day for journalism. Like, this sucks. Okay, sorry, I'm going back to his thing. DPReview was among the first organizations to go to a fully online format, and they created some of the most comprehensive technical reviews and deep dives that have ever been made on the subject of digital photography. It's one thing to lose the team and no longer have that level of quality on new cameras and equipment. It's another entirely, arguably worse situation to hear that the historical information on the site will just disappear. DPReview isn't just a publication. It's so old and comprehensive, it's basically a digital library. Libraries should never close. Yeah, this sucks. It is unclear at this time what will happen to the site's associated YouTube channel, though its longtime hosts, Chris and Jordan, you can see here, have been picked up by Petapixel, an independent media organization that specializes in photography. So with all of that said, I want you guys to just kind of walk me through, first of all, why the does Amazon own DPReview at all?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Very surprising. Yeah.
Yeah. So first off, before we get started, I know everybody's tired. Joran Schneider is actually the editor for Petapixel, just to clarify.
Oh, for crying out loud!
He's not a DPReview employee.
Yeah, just so you know. But yeah, it's the fact is it affects everybody, and it is a really big loss for the photographic community. Amazon bought them. I don't know, like, why did they buy them?
I mean, in 2007, it was a long time ago, digital photography. That was still when everyone was buying a digital camera at that point. And yeah, I think it was just a very different mindset. Now at this point in time, I don't think they would think, oh, we would like an editorially independent review channel that we own.
Amazon bought DPReview way back in 2007?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's like a lot of thought like, oh, they were going to start to try to, advertise Amazon products, push, cameras through the Amazon market. But honestly, that didn't really happen. And actually for the better, because it really let DPReview be this credible source of unbiased editorial information.
Yeah, because to their credit, I had no idea. So did they just buy this thing, completely forget they even owned it at all?
And then I feel like almost in the recent tech layoffs, I feel like you guys almost got caught up in that. which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly. Like,
Yeah.
they're not giving us a reason, but
Wait.
it
Fair
makes perfect sense.
Wait,
you know?
they're
Yeah,
not.
it makes sense.
Hold on. So they're not only not providing the public with any reason for this, they're not providing
you.
any of the team any reason for why this is happening?
Well, to be fair, so Jordan and I are kind of unique, right? Like we're always in Calgary, Canada. We're contractors, so we don't actually like have an employee status with Amazon. So
How
as
convenient for them.
contractors, yeah, it's kind of nice because we get to have that separation from it. But also it means that when it comes to all the nitty gritty and the details, honestly, we don't really know.
Wow.
And there's no severance. That's another factor.
Yeah, no severance. Yes, exactly, no
And
severance.
they didn't give you anything.
I don't know. A lot of good wishes
Office
from
supplies,
us,
maybe. It was nice.
Nice.
And,
I
mean, the best part.
I heard in the chaos of all the layoffs at Twitter in particular, but even some other companies like Google, where people are getting
have all their
emails that
laptops and stuff.
their jobs are redundant. They're sitting here going, well, I've got all this equipment. If you want it back, I guess you're the one who's coming to get it. By the way, I've been working from home for the last year and a half. So I guess you're coming to Boondocks Mountain Road, Oregon or whatever to come get it. So have you guys just been left with like a bunch of equipment and stuff how does that even work? Like, did you have notice?
So we did have a bit of a heads up, certainly more than some people, but less than others within the company. So we did know this is coming, which is, why we were able to find another place to bring our show relatively quickly.
It was funny. There's always this running joke of like, when is Amazon going to remember that they own us and then do something about it? Whatever it is, right? Like we expected at any moment there'd be restructuring or like, oh, this has changed or whatever. But, it was great. And I think Jordan and I both agree. We have to say we've been there 5 years, which is a significant part of our career. Absolutely. But there are people who have worked at that company for far, far longer. And so, some not at the beginning, but really at the early stages of DPReview. And so we really feel for those people. Like they've poured their entire heart and soul into this website. So yeah, we were in Seattle. We got to talk to the team. It was really nice and, kind of say hi to everybody, say goodbye to everybody. It was really quite emotional. And so, we're lucky. We're moving to Petapixel. We land on our feet. We've got connections that way. So we're good. We're happy. But we definitely hope that the other staff there, the writers and the staff that have been there forever, can find good positions to move forward in their careers.
I feel like
one of our biggest concerns is just, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
There's such an amazing repository of information, like Jaron said in his quote there.
Yeah.
That needs to be preserved, and I'm certainly it's going to wind up in the internet database, but all of the useful tools, like camera comparison tools, things like that, those are all going to be broken, and none of it's going to be searchable. So I hope someone is able to find some way to make that, recover it and keep it public.
I gotta say, like the feedback that we've been getting has been so good. Like, people have been really supportive, really wonderful. But at the same time, there's lots of feedback where people are justifiably upset. And I totally feel for them because this is a website that so many YouTubers, so many, amateur photographers, videographers, everybody to some extent or another has used this resource or uses it daily. And so I really understand that that's like, it's like something that's part of you that's going to have been torn out. It's really it's quite
and
devastating.
you know what is I honestly the most frustrating thing for me, because the first I heard of this wasn't in a news article or anything like that. It was members of our community reaching out to me, kind of going, oh my God, have you seen this? And is there anything you can do? Like, can you buy it or something? And I'm sitting here going, okay, well, there's some problems with that. I suspect the model is a little bit unsustainable at this point. I can, from a business standpoint, understand why Amazon might want to cut it loose. But then even on the flip side of that, this is such an insignificant asset to a company like Amazon, operating at a scale like Amazon, that what I suspect is that even if I could get Uncle Jeffy on the phone and say, hey, can you put in a word for me to the CEO of the vice president of the general manager of the director of the janitor that is in charge of DP review, right? Like, if you could put in a word for me, could I buy this thing? I feel like they basically just go, honestly, it's the pocket change that we'd get from selling it is not even worth it. So while these preservation efforts, like you said, are so important and I'm so grateful for them, there is actually no way to stop the loss that you're talking about, where it's not searchable anymore, where the tools don't work anymore. And as someone who, I have to confess, never contributed probably in a meaningful way to DP Review. I mean, I didn't donate or, I probably never even used an affiliate link. I feel bad about it now because the handful of times I did interact with the site, it was it was a lifesaver because there was nothing else like it. So I want us all to take a moment if you guys are able. And Luke, I don't know, did you use DP Review at all?
No.
Okay, so how about the three of us?
Historically, just talk to Brandon.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So can we all share our first time using DP Review? Do you guys remember?
For sure.
Okay, do you guys want to go first? Because I got mine teed up, but...
Yeah, I mean, I was really interested in video, but then was unemployed and got a job at a photo camera store. I was grossly ill-equipped for that. I didn't know anything about it. So every night I just got home and poured over DPReview.com. And that is how I basically developed my entire knowledge of everything digital photography. And I mean, now I've been running a photography YouTube show for more than a dozen years. I mean,
so you could say it's life-changing.
My life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If DP Review didn't exist, I would walk into my job the next day. They'd realize I didn't know a damn thing and I'd be back out on the street. So and it is a resource that I use, dozens of times every single day.
I just want to point out before I start my story, we had our adorable little lights to mimic you guys, but much like DP Review, they've gone out.
Too soon.
But
too soon.
I'm sorry.
Why you do that?
Hard on that metaphor.
But I started working at the camera store as well. Actually, Jordan was working for a different outfit. I was working for the camera store in Calgary, where we built our first YouTube channel. And unlike Jordan, I didn't research on DP Review before helping customers. I would help customers realize I didn't know anything about the camera I was trying to sell them. And then I would go that night and I would go on DP Review but that was the resource. I mean, there's so many small little digital point and shoot cameras. I was right at the cusp of where the camera store had a tiny glass showcase with digital cameras and we had to learn them. And they were like $900, which back then was like 10 million, right?
Yeah.
So it was really important to learn brand new technology. Every photographer is like, I'm not touching that garbage. That's a toy. That's not right. Medium format all the way till I die.
Oh, that's such a good point. Like the fact that DP Review
was the resource.
has they were the ones who effectively made digital photography understandable to people who wouldn't have accepted it. Like trailblazing, right? Like I'm thinking about this going, this site has been around for 25 years. I was 11 when DP Review was founded, right? So my story, sorry, am I interrupting or was...
No, go for it.
Yeah. So my story is that before I got into computers, one of the things that made me so jelly, aside from his CD burner, okay, was one of my friends in high school's dad had a digital camera. And the only reason that I cared about a digital camera at all at that point in my life was that I did not have any way. There was no digital means of taking a real world object and representing it on my computer in my household. And so when I was on MSN Messenger, okay, or The Palace, which was this weird predecessor to Habbo Hotel.
Yeah.
I had no way of having a representation of myself on my computer because I didn't own a digital camera. And so my first digital camera was this weird, I can't even remember what it was called. I want to say like Flip, or it was like a weird predecessor to the Flip. It was like a little like action camera that managed.
Was it like a rectangle?
It was a little vertical thing.
Yeah.
But it was pre-Flip. I think Flip was like a better one that came later or something. I don't even remember the brand, but my aunt got it for me for Christmas, and she was super impressed with herself. And I took one picture with it, and I was like, you really need to return this because I might as well have nothing. I was a lot nicer about it. But
Oh, man.
But what that crappy device that, you know, really the quality was like what VTech might have put out like 10 years ago. Like really, it was awful. But what that crappy device did was it sparked a curiosity. And what I ended up doing was when I was I was in grade 10, I think. So I was only 15. Was it made me want to learn about it. And I ultimately ended up with a Canon PowerShot A20. And the reason I settled on it was because...
Double A's.
Yeah, well, hey, those double A's...
Do you work for a digital photography review channel? How did you know that off the top of your head?
So I got a pack of, I mean, you didn't have like good double A's back then. It was all nickel cadmium, right?
Yeah.
So no nickel metal hydride yet. But
No Eneloops.
But you could get rechargeables. So I got myself a pack of 4 rechargeables and a 2 battery charger. You couldn't get, you know, a 12 bay charger for, you know, $30 on Amazon yet at that point. But I man, remember that weird brand that the battery was like kind of like tan colored and it was like really muscular? Do you guys remember that? Like,
I know that logo. I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called, but I had one of those.
Muscular double A's.
And I ended, they were awful. And I ended up with this Canon PowerShot A20 because DPReview determined that it was pretty okay. And it was kind of the entry level. So it was 2.1 megapixels. It was the entry level of what could be acceptable at all, but without, you know, completely breaking the bank. And that was all I could afford at the time. And that camera, like, man, I still look at pictures I took on that camera and I never open a photo album. So it changed my life in that way too. And I wouldn't have known what to buy as just an ignorant 15-year-old if it hadn't been for DPReview. They were so far ahead, even back then, of the competition in terms of thoroughness, in terms of professionalism. Like,
you had a lot of people back then, like they would rank digital cameras. Like, I don't want to throw Consumer Reports under the bus or anything, but let's do it. You know, and they would just do like 4 out of 5 stars or 3 out of 5 stars, right?
What does that
and they
mean?
Would say like, oh, fits good in hand. You know, images go on to computer, right?
Yeah, or CNET or whatever, right? Not that I want to throw anybody under the bus.
You know, makes color pictures. And then DPReview, they would actually like test these things out, and they would show you sample photos, and they would talk about the pros and cons. I mean, how many of us, except Luke, because you know Luke's never been on the website, bad Luke, but all the rest of us, like, you go to the reviews and you could even just go to the conclusion at the end, and you could get a full breakdown. And I bet you there's a lot of YouTubers, you know, our peers, that would all admit, I mean, you know, and us included, DPReview is also how we would fact check our work and make sure that we weren't just talking out of our asses. It was really wonderful.
That's actually such a good point. These unsung heroes doing the real work that allowed, you know, ignorant schmucks like us to become the face of the space, right? Like, I owe my entire career to sites like Anantech, you know, forums like ExtremeSystems. I didn't found these places. I didn't know anything. I was just hungry for knowledge, right? And you know, now we're seeing all of these places either disappear or become a shell of what they once were. Now, one of the other discussion topics that I wanted to get into with you guys is, you know, this might be a fun one. What the heck was Amazon's plan for DP reviews? Because did they even have the affiliate program yet in 2007? Like, internally, did you guys have any idea what was in it for them?
2007, they were still growing their like the different brands and categories that they covered. And like, when did they stop just selling books?
Well, yeah, like, when did Amazon even start?
I feel like it's actually like very, very old. Like actually, the beginning of Amazon is quite old. But I think once they started trying to get out of books was
1994.
Yeah,
that's when they
but
founded.
when did they?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So in
we can only guess, right? I mean, again, we think it was probably at a time where they're trying to acquire the biggest resources in many different fields and just try to get their fingers in as many pots as possible. And
I mean, because so many people went to DP Review, like I think in some ways it made sense, is like people who are educated, like you were saying, Linus, if you can feel confident in a decision because you have information, you buy more stuff. So I do think there was an era there where they were like, oh, we want to get out as much consumer information as possible. I can't speak to why they bought it. I was a child.
I'm so glad you brought that up because clearly, and it's a funny thing because until very recently, it's been Jeff Bezos at the helm of Amazon since its inception.
Yeah.
Clearly, he has undergone some kind of fundamental change. Because I could absolutely see that being a motivation at the time. And looking at some of the earlier Amazon features that were developed around helping guide people to the best solution, right? Clearly, that is not a priority anymore. And you look at what a cluster it is, what an awful experience it is trying to find the right product on Amazon. I mean, we did a video recently on the prevalence of scam products on Amazon now that it's a marketplace full of shady sellers. And while they say they spend a lot of money fighting these kinds of tactics, clearly it's not working. And the solution is to stop doing what you're doing, but they just keep doing it, right? Now, this is interesting.
I assume...
you guys didn't...
I assume Jeff was just like, get me one of everything. Go.
Yeah,
one of the best of everything.
I just looked up like a history of Amazon, and it's long and stuff, and I close it because it's too long. But in that period, they were doing a lot of expansionary stuff and very
Amazon Fresh,
trying out
Amazon
new things.
Music.
Yeah.
They acquired Audible the year prior in 2006.
Yeah.
Right.
This is an interesting one. This is another thing maybe I'm just totally ignorant. I just don't think about these things. I had no idea they owned IMDb. They bought IMDb in 1998.
Whoa.
So again, back to what you were saying, I could see that being about making sure that people have access to information about quality content, right? Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're a store that sells all the things, getting people excited about buying new things is beneficial.
Yeah, I guess so.
Absolutely. And then you want to have the best of those particular things.
Yeah.
Or what has the most traffic.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my last sort of question that I wanted to talk through with you guys. Who is going to take on this role?
I don't know who's equipped at this point. Like there are certainly people who could have the potential. Like we're going to continue testing cameras at Petapixel, but to have that history, I mean, they might very well do testing that's great right now, but I mean, a lot of photographers are using 8-year-old gear. How are you going to be able to compare that thing that you're looking to buy now to what you currently own? You're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why this is such an important historical thing, and no one else has this information nearly as comprehensive.
Have you talked to? Sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead.
Have you talked to people at Petapixel about how you might address that? Like, are you guys planning on picking up some older gear to try to give some amount of reference point, or?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, the great thing about Petapixel is, first off, we've known the people who run it for almost a decade, right? We've been good friends. It made a lot of sense. It was a great relationship, and they are very professional about their work as well. So we're happy about that. We like working with a company that, is a team for us, and they have the same skills and they have that same kind of work ethic to test cameras and stuff. So we're confident that we have that going forward. But yeah, as far as the older cameras, the older archives, I don't know. Like, I mean, we rely on this. It's not so good no more.
And certainly we could grab an older camera if it's a comparison that makes sense. But I mean, we're never going to come up with every use case out there.
No, and you're not going to.
Yeah. That's what's great.
You're not going to methodically go back and retest every camera. Like that's another really. It's so sad. This. the library should never close quote that's so it hits me right in the feels, right? Because this knowledge shouldn't be lost.
Yeah.
But it's gone. It's the thing that makes me saddest about all of this, though, is that it's emblematic of a widespread problem that we have in media today. And that's that no frills journalism isn't profitable. It's apparently not even worth just letting it continue to run. It's apparently such an unprofitable, awful business that everyone in it wants to get a payday from some sucker who thinks they can turn the ship around, or just dump it all together. That's even worse, that it apparently isn't even worth selling. And it just makes me incredibly sad. Our chat is blowing up saying, what about LTT Labs? LTT Labs is gonna guys, we're barely set up to the point where we can start to really test, CPUs, GPUs, things that are our core competencies, right? Digital photography is not, and there's so much to know. There's so much expertise that we don't have. And yeah, someday, we'd love to go toe to toe with you guys. I'm ready. Let's go. Creator Clash, 2028. I'll fight you.
Canadian Throwdown.
Yeah, for sure.
We should have like a Canadian Creator Clash.
Have like a beaver slap fight
where
just like hit
you
each other.
wear boxing gloves and then verbally debate because you're like too nice or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I used to know DOS, so you just watch yourself. I can make a batch file like nobody's business. So.
But I also worry that, okay, I have to confess, people have talked internally before this even went down about whether we're going to get into digital photography.
Yeah.
And my answer was, I'm kind of worried it's too niche. I don't even know if it makes sense for us to go into. Is that a concern that you guys have for the future now that smartphone cameras are so good?
The way I see it, we have been hearing this a lot about like, it's a business model that's doomed and it's going to fail and stuff. And I don't know if I'm really that skeptical about it. Like, we've had so many changes happen in digital, in photography in general, right? I mean, we had format changes when it was filmed, then we had the start of digital and everybody's like, oh, this is stupid. And now it's, the predominant thing, and then mirrorless and everybody's like, oh, that's stupid. And now it's the predominant thing, and smartphones and all of those are a gimmick that's not going to take off, and look where we are now. And now getting into AI and stuff. Like, I think when we talk about imaging in general, there's still very much a future there. And I can't speak to DPReview's financial solubility, but I know that it seemed like they were doing very well. We were doing a lot of new projects and stuff, so I don't really think it was that. I think it's more
that's even sadder, maybe.
Well, I think it's more just like adapting to the industry and going forward, and I'm not too worried about it that way. But is it going to be SLRs and stuff? Maybe not as much.
I mean, I think it's gonna go back to how it was before, where everybody had the uncle that was the photographer.
Oh no!
Over that period, everybody got a compact camera, multiple cameras, and stuff like that. Like, there was this huge boom that was totally unsustainable, I think.
But look, we're working for a company now that we're with a company now that has more emphasis on things like computers and smartphones and other tech and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's a smart way to go. But, at the same time, as you said, Linus, like photography, digital photography, if while you have time, everybody listening, go to the DPReview forums and actually look at also the educational articles. And when you really start getting into the science behind things like dynamic range and low light performance and
color
resolution and stuff, like, it's advanced science. And the people at DPReview are so much more intelligent than Jordan and I are.
It's very intimidating to go meet them. Yes.
Right. Like,
we are dummies.
They're very intelligent, very skilled people with science, oriented backgrounds. And that's what you need. Like, there's so much science behind it. So yeah, learn that stuff, get into it. It's fascinating, but yeah, it's tough that we don't have that resource anymore. The real resource is just going to be the people that enjoy that resource, that are hopefully going to start to maybe branch out, make their own educational websites, maybe transfer or save some of those archives. gonna have to see how it goes.
It's
On
interesting
the
to me.
topic of archiving, I'm going to be selfish for 1 second and mention that we did make over 400 videos for them, and
Yeah.
we don't know what's going to happen to those. And I don't know if you guys can empathize in any way with suddenly potentially losing YouTube videos. This might not be.
I don't
something
know
that
if
would
that's something
connect
you guys
with
have ever dealt with.
But we would really like to see those stay on the website. So definitely, mention
Yeah.
it. Get out there, let people know you want those DP
Maybe it'll
Review
just be
TV
like-
episodes to exist.
Maybe digital photography would be this cool, like bootleg underground, like
Oh, you go meet
you
a
know-
guy and you're like, oh man, I got a jump drive with an old DP Review TV
Sneaker
episode.
net.
Yeah,
like,
move to sneaker net,
I've got
yeah.
an article on Linus's favorite, Canon A20.
I got some test chart shots here.
Yeah, and we'll NFT our videos, and we'll just oh man.
Well, I mean, I don't think I can condone any of the sort of privateering that our guests are talking about today. I personally think it would be a crying shame if Amazon were to lose out on their intellectual property. You know what? I can't even do this.
It's really easy to download YouTube videos.
Yeah, it's really easy. There's like a lot of tools for that,
Yeah.
and it would,
Like if you even just want to download our entire DP review archive, and then you can just like people could just play it while they're trying to fall asleep and stuff. Like I'd be happy if someone's getting use out of it.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, hey, I think the last thing for us is to thank you for coming on and give you guys a chance to kind of give one more plug for where we can find more content from you guys. And if you know where any members of the team who you really, respect are going to be landing, if you could kind of give some plugs for that as well. We want to learn, right? And we have one resource going away, so hopefully this can become resource whack-a-mole, and no amount of late-stage capitalism can kill it. So tell us where we can get our fix, our DP fix.
Well, look, I think the first thing I
want DP coming at me from all angles.
And then we'll review it for you. We'll tell you how good it is.
Nice, perfect.
Oh man. I guess the first thing I would say is if anybody out there, is looking for talented people, definitely get in touch with the staff that are at DP Review.
So you're saying that not everyone has
found.
found somewhere to land yet, basically.
Well, I don't know, but get in touch with them, put it out there, because we've really appreciated a lot of the support that we got just after this announcement. So, give them some love. Otherwise, Petapixel, come subscribe to the channel. We're going to start releasing new videos in May. So,
okay.
This is plenty of time to build it up, subscribe so you guys don't miss us. We would really appreciate it. And again, the people that have been saying, we're going to follow you, we're going to stick with you, that's been the greatest feeling. It's indescribable. So we're really appreciative of that.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. And thanks for sharing your experience. I hope you got some dinner while you were waiting for us to get the issues sorted out. Good night, everyone.
We did. We're good. Everything's good. We're happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Everyone's happy to be here today, okay?
Yeah.